Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Studio Time. And for some of you, you might already recognize this tune, At the Speed of Force. This is the theme for The Flash. And we're recording this Studio Time especially because so many of you asked us to do an episode on it. So we're doing it. And so actually I was just like playing on my guitar. And so let me talk a little bit about that. Because this is how it all started. When I was working on the theme for The Flash, for those who have seen the movie, you know that there are two major spots in the film where the Flash gets introduced, where there is a song. Especially the first one. So I lost the opportunity to do something for him when we see him for the very first time. But luckily, there are two big moments in the movie. And a spoiler alert is coming up for the ones that haven't seen it yet. One is reviving Superman, and the other one is going back in time and saving the world, going to shit with the mother boxes that are syncing up and almost synchronized. And especially the last scene is a very emotional scene, actually. He gets shot and he repairs himself so quickly because of the nature of his character. And he just keeps running and running and running. And while he's running, we see like the city that has already been devastated because he's going back in time, like it's being like back to build up again, and it becomes whole again. And this whole sequence when he's like talking about like that he's proud of his dad, that he wants his dad to be proud of him. It's a very great scene, actually. I remember seeing it in its full length, and I think it's like 6 minutes or 5 minutes or so. It's a really great scene, and I wanted to do something that was obviously a film score because we're talking about a film, but I wanted to do something that was like emotional but also had a lot of modern elements to it and underscore that emotion for Flash. And I made an artist album in 2005 called Today, and it was basically electronic music, but it had so many guitar layers on top of each other to create like this mesmerizing feeling, repeating feeling, very much borrowed from minimal music like Steve Reich and John Adams. They had like patterns and repeated over and over again. So I did actually the same thing. So I recorded this. First I came up with this lick. So we don't have the guitar mic'd up with a microphone, so you're hearing it through my clip mic. It will not all that fantastic, but then we're gonna go and play it, what I did. So I came up with a lick on this beautiful Stratocaster. It's an absolutely beautiful Fender guitar. And behind me, you see this wonderful Princeton reverb, which is a very vintage synth from, I think, somewhere in the 60s. And it has a spring reverb in it and a tremolo in it. So it gives this, you hear that? That's the spring reverb. It's the earlier versions of the reverb. And so it's very much used for, in those days, for like, sounds immediately like Quentin Tarantino. This is the sound that I used to make this riff. So let me play you the riff. So that is the riff. Now I'm gonna put this beautiful guitar away. Poof, here we go. Oh, and for guys that are wondering why is Enzo not in the room? Well, Enzo is a little old and he doesn't like noise. He's fine with noise from speakers, but noise from guitars and live drums, he gets very scared. So he's sleeping in another room. So if we go now to the guitar part that actually made it to the movie, I'm gonna play it a bit. So here's the audio part. And the effects on it, in the day when I recorded it, I used some extra guitar pedals to make it really spacey in sound. So it sounds a little different than what we just played, but at least you have the sound of this riff. As you can hear, a lot of reverb and echoes and stuff on it to make it as trippy as possible. So the thing I started wondering is like, can I match this with like emotional chords, you know, going with it? So I'm gonna play this riff, and I'm just gonna jam on top with chords that I came up with. I was just jamming with these type of chords on top of that riff. So let's now leave the piano for what it is. And let's go back to some of the other guitar parts that I added to the riff we're just listening to. So this is another riff that is playing along with that original riff. So it has a really like massive reverb sounds and sucking in and out. And as I developed this track more and more, I couldn't help myself feeling more and more like The Edge, the guitar player of U2. Not that I'm as good as The Edge, because The Edge is like incredibly brilliant. But the idea of like layering really good licks on each other, well. Guys, if you hear me in the other room, Enzo is barking outside here, but he doesn't want to go inside here. So please take him into the other room. He's now barking, but he's gonna hate the drums in a second. So please bring him inside. Oh, somebody's grabbing him. Thank you, guys. So that is the second guitar, but there is another guitar coming in. So let's focus on that one for a second. Again, a very trippy guitar, like played on this beautiful guitar with lots of effects. And then we have a guitar here. I might need to sneeze. Sorry about that, guys. And this one is playing chords. Again, done with that same type of sound. So if we play all these guitars together, we really start to hear how this flash theme is developing, because this is exactly how the theme starts when we see it in the movie. And it becomes like so trippy and for me emotional. And there's then one guitar being added, and that is this. So that thing really then completes the big section where the orchestra really gets big and such. So let's play just the guitars on their own for that. So that is the guitar. So if I solo this guitar again one more time, and now I'm going to solo one extra track here, if correct, and now I'm going to grab the bass. And this is my beautiful. I can't live without this bass. This is my Fender jazz bass, but it's the Marcus Miller edition, and it has an active circuit to make it fuller and bigger. And so I needed like a roaring sound, so I put some distortion on it, so you get more this sound. So that's the kind of sound I really wanted to go for. So now I'm gonna play this riff again, this guitar riff, and instead of playing piano to play the chords, I'm just going to play the bass with it, so you have a feeling how this sounds together. So that's the feeling that I really wanted to go for. So I also recorded that in. And so the next thing I really wanted, when the theme was gonna get really, really big, I wanted to use, obviously, percussion, because I love percussion. So the first thing that I did is that I have all these wonderful instruments here. Like for instance, these instruments, these are called two-pans. And they're absolutely gorgeous. And I would play, I'm just playing with my hand for now, but I would play the. So I would play that rhythm, and I would, you know, as you can see, I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and there's a bunch of that side. So they all sound different. Like for instance, this one sounds quite different. Another beautiful two-pan. You see, it sounds like quite higher. Another really great drum. Then I use like a bunch of smaller percussion to play these snappy rhythms. So this instrument, actually you play with your fingers and a little bit with your hands. You get that really snappy sound. So I use this quite a lot for this track as well. And obviously my drum kit, my favorite drum kit. This is the Led Zeppelin reissue of the drum kit that Bonham had, I think in 1974 or so. It's acrylic, so that's why you can see through it. So the rhythm that I recorded with this drum kit, and we don't have it properly mic'd up at this point, so it might sound a little distorted through my microphone, or maybe it sounds good. So I recorded a bunch of those type of rhythms, And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm not recording like live performances over 4 or 5 minutes. I'm just recording cool loops, and then I edit them, and I do all kinds of cool stuff with them that I think works really well in the track. So when this track develops, and once it starts playing, then I'm gonna switch one thing off. And when it starts developing, obviously the orchestra comes in. And I don't want to focus too much on the orchestra in this episode, because it's really more than anything a poppy, emotional track. But the theme that comes in is the Justice League theme that is superimposed on top of Flash's music. So I would really now like to play the track. So now that I have actually introduced all these instruments that were used, and now let's play what it became. Here we go. I hope everything is fine, because this session is a little wonky, but here we go. And there you have it. You know, when I meet people that I meet for the first time, and these people sometimes say to me, "So Tom, what do you do for a living?" And I say, "Oh, actually, I'm a full contact composer." And then there's like, the idea composer is new to a lot of people, but then full contact composer, what is that? And this is the reason why I'm calling myself full contact composer. I like to play bass, I like to play guitar, I like to play percussion and drums, I like to turn with knobs and make crazy sounds. Am I a good musician? By no means, but I have so much fun doing it. And for me, this is a very special track because it has so much of me in this track playing, and that's why it's, for me, a very personal track. And I love the fact that you guys were asking for this specific episode. So I made this studio time a little snappier than some of the other ones because I wanted to focus in on the joy that I have making these types of tracks instead of like explaining you all the music that goes on here and the melodic and harmonic changes. So I hope you like this episode. As always, leave your comments below. and I'm seeing you very soon on a new episode. Thank you so much, and Enzo is welcome back in the room because he doesn't like this noise. See you next week.